I believe that when we design spaces, the spaces later on changes the lives of people. They changes their behavior pattern. They changes their whole life cycle sometimes. So when we design, whether it is interior or exterior, whether it is a garden, a plaza, or maybe just a living room. For an example, let's say I'm designing a living room where the dining doesn't have the TV view. So people will sit on dining without watching at the TV. It will change their daily pattern. And automatically that goes into their culture. So when we design any house, we say we are designing actually the lifestyle of a person. So always when we design even architecture, we believe that spaces, they will inspire their whole life henceforth. And then that is how we start our design, that is how we incorporate the minute changes or the detailing of it. There are many examples I can give you. Just having one good garden outside your house, people, they are now shifting to bigger layouts. People have lived in smaller houses, they now want to upgrade their lifestyle, so they shifted into bigger layouts where there are good amenities, there are swimming pools. Automatically children will learn how to swim. They will have better places for playing. There are skating rinks, so they will learn skating. So everything will change. For them the whole life changes. Particularly my residential buildings are not those fancy designs. I don't match my buildings to something like my building looking like falcon, or it is looking like some bird or some. I don't get inspirations from these kind of shapes. I believe that residential building should be something like human body, where every part of the building is having some purpose, some technical functional requirement should be fulfilled through that purpose. And then we design a building in such a way that there is no redundancy. If you see Vanavigna Park, we don't have redundancy in a single element. I don't have those entablatures and cornices and those false columns and then those unnecessary additional burden on the building, even for the construction as well as for the maintenance purpose for the whole life of the building. So I don't do that. My buildings are very simple, completely functional. My aesthetics are derived through the functional elements. So say I have to design one terrace. I have created double height terraces there. Then I have done some composition of double height terraces. So my basic aesthetics, the inherent form of the building has been derived from those double height terraces. And there is nothing additional to it. Even those columns which are, they seems like some aesthetical elements, but they are structural elements. So every element has got some purpose there. And then the building has come out very well. It is being appreciated by all people for its aesthetical value. Residential building, when you talk about apartments, the requirement is very simple. We are talking about 5 spaces inside the building and then common spaces outside the apartments. Inside, what we are doing? Living room, bedroom, kitchen, toilets, that's all. Right. Now, how you plan them so that the wastage is not there. You are getting enough light, ventilation, privacy from outside buildings, from each other. The apartments, when number of apartments per floor are very high, then there is visual interaction happens in between 2 apartments. So we try to avoid that. And then you also want to have good view. So to get good view, I've got decks. But then once you are going out on the decks, and there are, let's say, 8 apartments in, let's say, Vanavigna Park, or many of my buildings, they have got 6 apartments or 8 apartments. Right. Now, each apartment is getting a view of, let's say, 200 degree or 270 degree, but total only 360 degree view is there. So how you share that 360 degree view in 6 apartments, but individually every apartment should get more than 200 degree. Okay. So that is a skill. Right. Okay. When you design outside spaces, outdoor spaces, then yes, nowadays the requirements are, there are varied requirements. Expectations are very high. Like we used to have swimming pool, and then people used to say, if you construct swimming pool, then the maintenance cost will be high. Now one swimming pool will not suffice. So in many of my projects, we are having swimming pool with proper lap lane, and then we have got children pool separate, toddlers pool. We have got ladies pool separate. In few of my projects, even there is one aroma pool and wave pool and beach pool kind of. So 6 pools in a complex.
Right.
Of course, the complex are big enough to accommodate that. But then these kind of requirements are there. The requirements are changing in different directions. Like automation. Initially, automation was interior subject. Only few of the chosen people, they used to have automation, and then it was just kind of fashion. Now it has become a need, like a smartphone. Apartments are getting smarter, so we are providing automation not only inside, now outside the building, in the complex. So the requirements are changing, but then certainly, as I said, there are expectations, and expectations are going to increase further. Once you start working on multiple projects, certainly there are limitations of ideas. So you tend to repeat ideas. But then how we upgrade ourselves, I'll share that with you. Like we keep on changing the software, the medium of thought process. Initially, when you used to do manual drafting, those days you design it, but you don't know how it's going to look like. You are totally dependent on your capacity to imagine. Nowadays, while designing itself, you can see the building. So while I am doing the planning, the basic elevation, simultaneously I can look at the building in 3D form. So softwares like Revit, we shifted on Revit in 2006. People are learning now, but then we have acquired the complete skill on Revit years back. So we are designing buildings in totality. We are looking at them in 3 dimensions, and because the medium has changed, automatically your thought process will change. So once we completed Revit, we shifted to another software, Rhino. We started with SketchUp. So every software has got its own limitation, and then your imagination gets bounded by that limitation of the software. So every time we change our medium of thought process, medium of expression, automatically the idea change. Okay, and that is how you create variety of spaces. As soon as you go on Rhino, your design gets parametric. You can create spaces which are unimaginable, undraftable. So that gives you that flexibility of thought process. Okay, and that creates those unique designs. Certainly, you cannot have unique designs every time. In the best of the best project, there are 5 places where you say these are my key features, and if I give every space a key feature, then it will be like eating a plate with lots of sweets inside. Nothing else will not work. The softwares are getting smarter and smarter because your hardware is getting upgraded every time. Your softwares are getting upgraded. So as I said, visualization technique, that changed. Okay. Now it is like while designing process, you are seeing your building. Not only seeing your building, you can do various simulations, environmental simulations on the building, and it keeps on giving you the tracking of how much exposure you are giving to your building, how much heat gain you are doing in your building. It's in the design process itself. It is not like you are getting the design first, completing it, and then doing some analysis on top of it, and then changing it. It's like it's online right now. So the thought process has changed. Certainly, ACP was my major, building product. In middle time, in last few years, in fact, we started to use some other products, and we tried to really find some alternatives to ACP because the options were getting limited. there was not the kind of innovation which was required in ACP was not happening. And you see those 50 different suppliers giving you the same catalogs of the same material, and then every building is looking same. Okay, and you don't know the building belongs to China or India or Dubai. They are looking same, absolutely same. There was no uniqueness in them. But somehow in last few years, again, you can say few months, again we started using ACP just because the options are more. Now in your product only, Aludecor, we found few options where the rustic finishes are there. There are some matte finishes are there. That is what is my taste is. I don't want those glossy finishes always. So suddenly I shifted to your product. We started suggesting your product because we want always something which is innovative. And somehow I think if this thing keeps on happening, then certainly ACP will come back. I love sand series. In fact, I am suggesting your sand series in multiple of my projects. See, I was using zinc panels, and then when I saw Aludecor using zinc panel as their top surface, I immediately shifted from zinc panel to Aludecor having that zinc panel. And certainly because of its character, the character of the material, the self-filling, the character of the material, it has got some plus points. I'm using zinc panels for a few of my projects right now. What we learned from China in last few months, if you see, after the real estate went down, that the growth should be sustainable. You can take a pace in development. Right now we are not actually into that kind of movement at all. But if we take a pace in development, you should know where to stop. Developed countries like China and even Dubai, they could not stop where they should have stopped their development. It was not controlled, it was not required. Still they kept on developing till they got those ghost cities. There are many of them in US even, but then because we are talking about China, because their banking sector was financing their real estate, and it was not totally dependent or not even dependent on their sales. They kept on developing the cities, big malls, big residential complexes, and the speed was so high, it was so abnormal that almost in every year they used to develop 50 new cities. Eventually their population is 1.3 billion and what they have constructed is for 2.5 billion. So there are many complexes where there is no buyer. They are empty, completed in last detail. Everything is finished. The malls, they are finished, but the shops are not open. The whole cities are humanless. So those are the ghost cities. Certainly they are overbuilt. The building should be long lasting. Right. When we choose a material, the life cycle should be good. Now we see many of these materials where they don't give life cycle of the material, the guarantee of the material more than 10 years. Theoretically they say it is 20 years, but practically will give only 10 years. Building's life is around 50 years. So what will happen? So eventually within the next 25 years, 30 years, we'll go for redevelopments and we'll have to spend more. So we are talking about materials which are less harmful for environment. But if I have to refurbish the building, I have to just clad the building twice or thrice through its life cycle, eventually I cannot call it environmentally sustainable material. In fact, we should shift our focus, the whole world should shift their focus onto only long lasting materials.